Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel or my space. My name is Unuma Kukumanganye, and I am back with another video where I'm just going to be unpacking my thoughts as always, right? Thinkers worldwide, thinkers are up, right? So as always, I'm not alone. I am with this lovely companion of mine, the second love of my life. Truly have a good time when I'm with this teddy bear. Trust me, guys, it is good for cuddles, especially in this cold weathers. Trust me. And I am still reading Paulo Coelho's 11 Minutes. When I tell you that this book, I told you this other time, the first time I recorded, that Paulo gets your mind activated. I'm reading this book. It's about this girl named Maria, and trust me, I am there with her. I just want to understand what she's going through, the decisions that she's making. Sometimes I'm like, girl, that's a bad one, but we're not there, right? And I am back here today with another video, as you may see, of course. Thank you so much for the subscriptions. I've seen like a few subscriptions already, and I'm loving it. Thank you, appreciate it truly, right? I still have my book, forgot my journal. I have my water there and my notes are on my phone. I don't have much notes because I just figured I did not need them. Okay, so what do I want to be talking about today? What has been on my mind lately? A lot. But right now, I want to talk about how healing changed my personality, right? So, how I would define my personality or describe my personality before healing, I would say it was very loud, right? There was somewhat a demand, like I was begging for attention without, maybe like it was even subconscious, right? I was very loud and I was out there, really and truly. And I remember this one incident that stuck with me in my head for such a long time. I have this other cousin of mine who we met at this other place of Groove. And because I was in that element, I went up to her and I was just, oh my goodness, this thing is giving me an ick. Okay, that's good. And then I just went up to her, and in my mind, I'm thinking, we're cool. I'm just screaming, not screaming, but I was just happy to see her. I hadn't seen her in such a long time. So I jumped to her, like, oh, I thought that, really just being excited. And I remember just her saying, with yo, that was so loud. At that time, I was like, but I've always been loud. Like, why are you shocked? And it didn't register to me. But years later, it stuck to me that, why were you so loud? Was there a reason for you to be so loud? And I realized how I might have been hurting. So because I was hurting, there was just this natural state of drawing back from people. But because I didn't want that, then I overcompensated in how I showed up and how I presented myself and how I interacted with people. And then that was just a tad bit much, right? A tad bit much, even if I do say so myself. And that remained like a personality that I recognized with just being loud and out. And I misunderstood that and I mistook that for like confidence. But another thing I'm realizing now is that confidence does not beg to be noticed, right? You put in no effort for you to be noticed that you are confident. And because of that, I was very unsettled in myself. I was very unsettled in myself. There was a bit of a bit of discomfort. Excuse me. There was a bit of discomfort in myself, and that subsequently spilled into the relationships that I had with people. And the main notice for me was in romantic relationships rather than friendships, because in most of my friendships, in most cases, I was drunk, right? That could have easily been the excuse and the reason why. But when it comes to romantic relationships, because I was unsettled in self, how I showed up to the next person, I represented that I couldn't rest in solitude. I constantly there was just a need for the other party because I'm unsettled, and I truly don't believe that you could ever be settled in any sort of relationship if you are not settled with self, because there's just going to be an element of overcompensating even when you don't even like even when you don't have to. And that for me is what I noticed. That, look, of course I noticed all of these things like in hindsight when I look back and I'm like, there was a pattern. I remember saying to you know, a friend of mine that I feel like I've been attracting the same kind of people. Like I've been attracting the same person in different bodies. Hence, I would be talking to someone, and then after 3 months, I'm like, nah, I don't want to be engaging in these conversations with you anymore. And it kept on happening, and I realized just how unsettled I was in self. I was very uncomfortable with myself, and I was not also in a position to admit that because I was not even having these conversations with myself, right? I was not engaging in these thoughts even with myself. And then when now I started being intentional about healing, right? And even at this point, I don't believe that healing is a destination. I don't believe that you could ever get to a point where you're like, I am healed, right? I truly believe that it's a journey. Like there's different things at different times of our lives, at different stages of our lives that are going to trigger different reactions that like of occurrences in the past. But it's a continuous thing. Like it truly is a journey. So when I then started intentionally embarking on this journey of healing or on the journey of healing, I started realizing how calmer I was becoming, how very settled in myself. And when I say settled, I mean I was so okay with just sitting down and spending time with myself. I wasn't intimidated by my thoughts. I wasn't scared of by my thoughts. I enjoyed hearing how my mind processes things. And that's when I started realizing a change in my personality. And at first, it was a bit concerning because it somewhat felt like I am being introduced to a version of myself. I've been referring to a version of myself in the past videos like crazy, but that's okay. It felt like a reintroduce a re my god, where are my words? Let's do that again. It felt like a reintroduction to myself when I wasn't prepared for that. Like when you start healing, I wasn't expecting to see a contrast in my personalities. I started seeing it after I was okay, no, why am I feeling a lot calmer? And it felt like I was losing myself, and there was a bit of panic there. Who would see who is this person that is so calm now? Who is this person who takes time to process his things? Who is this person who wants to fully embed themselves in situation and not just be impulsive? And for a moment, I thought that I was losing myself because I had known this impulsive version of myself and I had embraced that personality or that kind of personality about myself. And now, this one that was a bit laid back was a new, revelation of self. And I was like, hold up, who is this girl? But the more I spent time with myself, the more I realized that my confidence is still not shaken. I am confidence to the T. I just don't need to act it out. I just don't need to convince the next person. I just don't need to be in the center of the room, to be dancing, to be singing out loud. And if that's your personality, that's your personality. I'm not shaming and brushing all of that. I'm just saying that from my end, it was coming from a side of wanting to be recognized, wanting to be noticed because there was just an unsettling feeling within myself. So when all of that changed, then I started just being laid back, still very confident, still very talkative, still very active, but now I was comfortable in just being in my own space. I was very comfortable in existing in my own space. I wasn't threatened by myself. And another thing that I noticed is that we try to overcompensate externally because there's thoughts that, we have in our mind that are very threatening because they force us to address certain things about ourselves. And until we get to a point where we are willing and we are driven to be honest to ourselves about the decisions that we made, about the decisions that we make and the choices that we make, then we will continuously try to run away from, the time that we need to spend with self. So now I'm like, okay, who is this girl now? Like, I am in love with my mind. I'm in love with myself now. I enjoy my time. I enjoy my space. And I'm just like, okay, no, 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 no. All of the people that were around me, all of the people that were with me, you guys are liars. Why would you allow me to show up as a fake version of myself just because I thought this is what confidence looked like? And why did I feel the need to convince other people, Uguti, hey, look at me. I'm confident if I do that. I'm confident if I do this and that. When in reality, that's not the case. Like that's never the case. And I remember, I have something here that I wrote down because I don't have my journal, a girl had to improvise, right? A girl had to improvise. I wrote that it is so saddening now realizing how subconsciously I was begging for attention that I was never meant to receive, right? I begged for that attention, I begged for that attention, and when it came, it didn't yield results that I would have desired, either from relationships, either from, okay, friendships, not so much. My friendship life hasn't been so dramatic, so I'm not gonna, make reference to that. But I realized how by begging attention, I started attracting the wrong people. And the more I started being laid back and just being relaxed, I attracted the people that feed into that part of my mind, that part of my personality, that enhance that part of my personality. And with each day, I am learning to embrace this new personality. I don't know if it's a new personality, or it is the emerging of a personality that I hid and buried just because I was fighting for a space and a place to belong. That's something also like that I'm still navigating. But it's been very interesting when I look back right now at the contrast between how I showed up years ago as compared to how I show up now. Now I'm still, I don't put up a performance to convince people that I am confident. And excuse me, fortunately for me, I've never struggled with confidence issues. I guess it has always been how to exist within my confidence. I guess in the past, I've always had this belief that I had to show someone that I'm confident. I had to convince the next person that I am confident. Whereas right now, in comparison to that time, I'm just like, I'm so chilled, guys. Like, I'm so chilled. I'm relaxed. I'm having the time of my life. And that has been such a delight, realizing and finding out about myself. And I'm just like, I love it here. I really, really love it here. And which is an invitation for you to heal, right? So that you can also be brought to a place where you are settled with yourself. And not to say that whoever needs healing is probably embracing a personality that is not theirs. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that it could be. Chances are you are putting up a facade just to belong. You're putting up a facade just to exist in a place that you're not meant to even to begin with. So, which was the case for me. Which I'm like now, what a waste of my time. But like, there's no need and no use crying over spilt milk. What has happened has happened. It's always a lesson. And yeah, I think that brings me to the end of my video, the end of my unpacking, which has been, it's quite funny how I realize certain things as like I sit and speak. Some things I do not, they are not on my mind prior recording. It's not until I sit down and I start speaking and I'm like, oh, actually, this is how certain things happen. And a very close person to me said that you're not just talking, there's also healing in there for you. And I clocked it, Wuti, okay, there's certain things that I'm getting to understand. And clock Wuti, why did I think about those things a certain way? Because now I'm thinking and I'm talking about it, I'm addressing it in a way that I normally would not have. So this is interesting for me. I love these, sessions for myself and for everyone who's watching. So yeah, I've come to the end of my video. I hope you did enjoy. Don't forget to like YouTube culture. Don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe. Tell your friends to tell their friends and the loved ones too that there has been another video in the streets and they can go back to catch up on the previous ones. But from me and mine's to you and yours, have a lovely night. Until next time, peace and kiss. Good night.